Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to Being Here. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shia.
And I'm wondering.
What are you wondering?
You got FOGO?
What is FOGO?
Well, before the pandemic, there was this thing called FOMO, fear of missing out.
I remember that.
You know, where people were afraid if they didn't get up on Facebook or Instagram, or they might miss something. Like
yes.
And now, after the pandemic, when people were at home a lot, behind masks, we didn't do a lot of social things.
Well, I don't even know that the pandemic is over completely, but people now have a fear of going out into the world.
So today's episode is about experiencing where we are and discussing the possibility of going out into your life, being boldly you, where no person has gone before. Oh, that's Star Trek.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we're starting from. Recognizing that if you have from time to time that fear of going out, there's nothing wrong with you. It seems to be a phenomena, but there is the possibility that you can live your life as opposed to be immersed in your fear and let your fears own you.
Right. We have a guest.
We do. Should we start with our guest? Let's do our guest. Hello. Tell people where you are.
Hi, this is Renate in Biesserach, Switzerland.
Welcome to Being Here. Normally we talk about listening and all sorts of things, but we know you have a baby sleeping behind you. And so we have a window of opportunity to speak with you while she is settled. So,
well, regarding listening.
Yeah.
Listening isn't multitasking. Listening is unitasking, where your task is to listen. And if you do that, magic happens. Your universe can transform in an instant because you get pulled into the current moment of your life. And that's where transformation takes place. How's that?
So good.
So good. Okay.
What can we do for you, Renate?
What would you like to talk about there?
I love that you have the title FOGO. First, I had no clue what this means. And then I had to smile when I learned that it's fear of going out. Because as you just mentioned, I have a little daughter. She is now 8.5 months old. And sometimes she just doesn't like to go by car, like drive in a car. She just screams like something. And I realized pretty, like I have this like FOGO sometimes that I'm like hesitant to go out by car because it stresses me when she like cries that much.
But which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well,
did she start screaming because you're stressed going out, or are you stressed because she screams?
I think sometimes it's the one and sometimes it's the other.
Mm.
Yeah, because I
have you trained her to behave that way? You know, we once did a seminar in Costa Rica at a place called Pueblo Real, and we had a young mother there with her young daughter. And whenever she left her daughter with the babysitters, the baby would cry.
Scream.
Now, as soon as the mother left, she stopped crying. But so we started to discover that the mother requested.
She'd be like, goodbye, Renate. Goodbye, Renate. Bye, bye. Until the kid realized she was being left, screamed. And then she felt, oh, she loves me. And so Shai said to her, next time you hand over the baby, just turn around and walk away. Within 1 or 2 days, it just didn't happen anymore. And we've known a lot of people who've put their kids in the car to get them to sleep. It's the only place the kids, the movement of the car tends to lull them to sleep. So it's an interesting phenomena that your child has been enculturated into the opposite.
Now, you put her in a car seat?
Yes.
See, I have a strange thought process right now, but I'm going to express it just because I might be right. Do you feel relieved when you can set her down?
What do you mean by set her down? Like putting
Let her
in the
play
car?
by herself?
Meaning, at least here in this country, the laws are such that a child needs to be in a car seat in the back seat. It's not, so if you were driving, I mean, other times, I'm sure Pascal drives, but if you're driving, she can't sit up front with you. So are you ever relieved that you get to legally, morally, and every other way, put her in the back seat so that you can actually...
So you have a break from being a mother?
A funny thought, and it's like with the legal thing, just like here in Switzerland, you can have her on the front seat, in the legal carriage, like to have her. But it's funny, I never have her in the front seat. I always have her in the back seat. But I never thought it's gonna be that I want or need or whatever a break from being a mother.
Well, what's interesting is you didn't say yes or no. You got a big smile across your face.
They can't see you, and I know they can't see you leaning so close to the screen. Now part of you disappears because you really got engaged with this question.
Yes, you see, but that smile indicated to me that there was
something in there,
a little relief, like time for a nod.
Whew.
A little Renat time now.
Yes, it's so funny because I really never thought about this way, but it something hits home when you say that. Yeah.
Yes. So,
but she may be reacting to your fear of going out, meaning a good mother wants to be with her child
all the time.
It's so funny that it looks like that's a recurrent theme, because it's not the first time we're speaking about
really?
There was another thing prior to this conversation. You were talking about how when you're breastfeeding,
because we were having a chat before we started recording,
that she has started biting you.
Yes.
And I am really, I bet the house on this one, that she bites you when your attention, when you follow a thought and you leave. Is that metaphorically speaking, or
well,
how would you express
there's
that?
a vacancy in
you get vacant when you go away in a thought, and she brings you back with a bite to the breast.
Yes, and that it was yesterday, like the first time she did that, and it wasn't a calm situation. It was like with energy, and so it's for sure that yes, that wasn't.
She bit you with energy to get you back.
Yes.
You know, our cat does that sometimes. It's really strange. She'll whack me with energy. And she, out comes that paw and whacks me because she's annoyed with what I did.
Well, she
didn't do.
She did that with me this morning. One of the things when we feed her, she'll often, well, not often, but sometimes she'll crawl up the back of our legs like, hello, here I am, please feed me. And she had come for a second time during the night. I didn't get up and feed her the second time. And so I was getting ready to feed her this morning, and she came up behind me, stood on her hind legs, and just whacked the back of my leg and walked away, and She's definitely
Holds grudges
she
that way.
just I think she's pretty funny.
Yeah, she's a lot smarter than she puts on. And I think that your daughter knows, senses, feels your vacancy, and then demands your attention. And what might be the solution is to just give her your full attention when you're with her, not try to get other things accomplished at the same time.
Yes, that's a point. That's for sure a point. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, then what will happen is you'll put her in the back seat because she belongs in the back seat while you're traveling, not as a way to finally have a break. And she may not react the same way because you're not actively trying to, have
Well,
that break.
I know that if Ariel wanted my attention and I was preoccupied, she would do things to get my attention that I wouldn't appreciate.
So you can nip this in the bud now so you don't have to have those teenage years.
That sounds good. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Hey, we can talk more or not, but I think it's pretty cool. She slept through this.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
Appreciate you being with us today. Really a
Yeah.
treat.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Now it's your turn. Let's hear what one of you listeners has to say about being here in the transformation community.
This is Steve in Manhattan, and one of the things I love about the seminar, Ariel and Shaya's seminars and podcasts and videos, is that life can be fun, and I'm just feeling more at ease with myself and my surroundings. It's a great experience, and it's great hearing other people and being with them as well.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shaya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
We invite you to join us for Living Made Easy seminars. Our next ones are this upcoming Saturday and the following Monday. You can find out times. It's all Zoom, so it's from wherever you are. Living Made Easy is the seminar at transformationmadeeasy.com. We have some upcoming weekend seminars.
We have a residential in-person seminar happening here in New Jersey.
So if you want to practice going out, it's the end of March. It's a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday.
It's called Being Alive.
March 24th, 25th, 26th.
And then we have a virtual seminar, April 22nd and 23rd, called Step into Your Brilliance.
Just want to mention also that Open and Filling are our two courses in Hamburg toward the end of the spring. It's the last weekend. It's Thursday for the Freedom to Breathe, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's also Pentecost there in Europe. It's Memorial Day weekend here in the States. We are doing a course there called Fun as the Access Way to Enlightenment. You are invited to any and all, and you can find out more at transformationmadeeasy.com. All right, here we go. Let's take our next guest. Miss Katie, welcome to being here.
Thank you.
Where are you zooming in from?
I'm zooming from Chicago, Illinois.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you guys for taking my call. And I want to say, so something that keeps coming up for me, I am right at the kind of the end of my years of potentially having a child, which my husband and I were shooting for a while. And I keep having it's maybe the more the FOMO, that I didn't have a child, and I keep like,
Well,
no,
let me
my mind keeps.
let me simplify things for you.
Thank you.
Take a breath. Okay. Can you be different than you are in this moment?
No.
Okay. Even if you wanted to have this moment be different, could it be?
No.
Okay. How old are you?
41.
41. In the past 41 years, say the past 36 years, did you want to have a child?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Um,
Why are you laughing, my dear?
no, because I don't have one.
You don't, and you didn't make it happen.
Uh-huh.
It isn't that you didn't have sex.
And it's not like you failed. Life unfolds as it does. And personally, I don't understand it. Like there are lots of people we know who haven't wanted babies who get pregnant. And there are lots of people we know who want babies and they've had difficulty getting pregnant, or they are unable to conceive. So it's like life argues for things. And then,
well, not only does life argue for things, if you look at how you lived your life, you argued for certain things too. You didn't, at age 21, get yourself pregnant.
Yeah.
When you were really ripe.
Right.
And you've gone through lots of the different fertility things. In fact, we were speaking to somebody about it today, and she was talking about when I was on my first, my trying to get pregnant journey. She has now recognized that she full-heartedly went on the journey. It didn't happen, and it's now like, okay, so that chapter closed. Now what? And if you really want a child, there are certainly other ways to go about it aside from pregnancy. And personally, I enjoy for myself the investing in the children around me.
The
Having
grown
never,
children.
grown and young, having never been pregnant myself, I also know the programming that I was supposed to be a mommy, and I had all of the dolls, and my mom, rightfully so, from her perspective, told me that I owed it to the world to give the world a child, but it wasn't for me.
And it wasn't in your cards.
It wasn't.
It just didn't show up that way. You can live your life with a number of different ways of going about it. One way is to look at what you want and produce it. A lot of people do that. Another way is to look at what is and enjoy it. See, if you're not getting what you want, then you can be miserable. It's justifiable. Life is not taking care of you, so you think. But your truth may be, the idea of having children is great, and the reality isn't yours.
At least for certain, not in this moment, because you're not pregnant and you don't have a child.
And I betcha, not that I think you're a loose woman, but I bet you've had sex, unprotected sex, many times in your life. You shook your head. This is an audio, so you better speak.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I was just thinking about that for myself. I had lots of partners prior to Shia, and I was not particularly fastidious about condoms, or I was on again, off again in regards to different types of contraception. I never got pregnant. So I can say, oh, well, I didn't because I'm with Shia and Shia has a vasectomy. So I could kid myself I wanted a kid, but there's just no way it was going to happen. But if I look back, I never got pregnant. I clearly didn't want, it doesn't matter what my conversation is. If I look at the reality of my life went a different direction. Like it, don't like it, understand it, don't understand it. It's really about looking and seeing what is rather than talking to myself about what I would prefer.
Now, here's the other thing. Most of your preferences have been programmed into you by the culture you grew up in. Your idea of your role in life. Look, I know you're an architect. I know you design kitchen cabinets and make
Beautiful
kitchens for people, and probably other things as well. Okay, I know you do that. When you were a little girl, the idea of being an architect did not exist.
Yes.
It wasn't what was programmed into you to be satisfied at work. I need to be an architect.
Someday I'm going to make cabinets.
Right. Never entered into the equation.
But when I'm a mommy,
that was programmed in, that in order to be a full woman, you must reproduce.
Well, I used to jump rope to that. Did you ever jump rope to that? First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes
the baby in the baby carriage.
There you
there
go.
you go.
Yes.
So the program is in there. And then you look at your life and say, well, I'm married now.
So
next comes.
Yes.
And so then you depress yourself if it doesn't happen. Rather than be honest with yourself about what your truth is moment to moment, not this program that's in all of us to do our lives right.
I love that.
And look, the possibilities were limited when you were growing up. I am so impressed by all these beautiful women who fly these giant airplanes these days.
And some have kids and some don't.
But the idea of being a pilot didn't exist when I was growing up for a woman.
Oh, we had career day when I was a kid.
You
And
could have been a secretary, a nurse, a librarian, or a teacher.
Yeah.
That ought to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Our printer's beeping to that. I don't know if you can hear it.
But it's okay.
Hmm.
It was just.
So did you
adding
have a question about that? I know we've kind of like jumped into the breach and had a conversation with you, but
I really appreciate you guys laying it out for me, because in reality, it's like, I supposedly know that like I couldn't have a kid if I don't have one, but it's like my mind gets like is very clever and likes to trick me into thinking, but you should have started earlier.
back when it was a still viable possibility for Shai and I to have kids, because he had it checked out.
I could have had my vasectomy reversed.
And it was like a 95% chance it would work and all of that good stuff. We went at some point to a meditation center for a couple of years in Europe, and it was still a viable possibility should we have wanted it. And I remember meeting this woman there. I don't recall her name. I do recall that she had a young child, and she looked at me and she said, Ariel, don't do it. Don't have kids. You will regret it forever. Just don't do it. It'll complexify your life. Now, I don't know her life story. And I don't know that her advice was sound, but I do know that was not something I'd ever heard anywhere in my life. it was always, oh, kids, aren't they wonderful? So it kind of created a break in the continuity of expectation so I could look for me and choose. That there
That's
was
cool.
actually somebody who had a child, who had the reality that this was a mistake. Now, of course, I'm sure she loved her child and all of that good stuff, but that
Well, this reminds me of a conversation that we had when I first met Ariel. I was working at a company, and one of the fellows that worked at that company married
another person who worked there.
Right. And after we went to Europe and lived in the meditation center and all, for some reason, I wanted to get back in touch with these folks. So we went and we visited this lady, because her husband now was a seminar leader in the world doing his thing, but she was the mother. She had 2 children and she wished she didn't have any. She said, if I had known how difficult it would be to have a child, have children and raise them, I would never have begun.
So it was just very interesting for me that I've always heard the upside, and that it wasn't until the more recent years that people talked about the challenges it is to be a parent. So we've been sold the fairy tale version.
And there's this thing called misery loves company.
In fact, I've seen something, Katie. I've seen the happiest parents are really supportive of people who are doing their best to get pregnant. I've seen the unhappiest parents sell the idea that you're going to miss out if you don't have one.
Or 2.
Or 3.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. I absolutely see that. And I love that you've presented another option for me. I'm sorry.
Well, here's another thing that I just got. I looked over here on our screen and I see FOGO, fear of going out. What could keep you more stuck at home than being a full-time parent?
It is actually a solution.
It is a solution to the uncomfortableness of discovering who you are as an individual.
Now,
because it gives you a role to play that if you didn't have that role, it might be uncomfortable trying to figure out what to do with your life.
It's not a given that it's that way, but a lot of people use it that way. Because I remember when our friend Amy had her first child, and I said to her, look, can I come to the birth? Because this is as close as I'm ever going to get to giving birth, because I'm not having one. And so she invited us and invited me into the room to be there for the birth of her first son. And one of the things that was really cool about Amy is there were lots of people around her who thought she should quit work. And she's like, no, that would be awful. Like, she was totally fine with including this incredible being who she loves, adores, enriched her life. But her life, she wasn't now a mom. That was a facet of the jewel called Amy. And I think a lot of people use being a something. I'm finally married. I'm finally a mother. I'm finally a homeowner. I'm finally a cancer survivor. I'm finally and they put that label on themselves so that they don't have to be out in the world as an individual.
And discover who you are in this moment without a label, just a being.
Yeah, that's lovely.
I'd like to say something that is potentially politically
incorrect.
Yeah. And I know you revealed openly in a recent Monday that your husband's having some health challenges and you're sorting out what they are. And in some respect, I think it's really great that you're not currently having to juggle both things, that you can devote your full energy into making sure that you do the best to keep his well-being intact.
I thank you. I thought of that too. And it's things show up. Yeah. I'm
here we are now. I get it. Yeah.
It's so when we just last week found out that, there was he had a scan and they found something on the scan. And it was weird how, like, my first reaction, I wasn't upset, or it probably was, because I think I tend to get angry first. And I could see I was angry, like, almost at my husband, Chris. And not that he did anything, but I could see that I had anger that was probably sadness that I like to hide.
It was interesting. Sean and I went for a walk yesterday, and we were talking about a couple that we know, and they've been married for some time, and they both have some health challenges now. And I realized how in the early days when things were more robust, how they didn't master the knack of supporting each other no matter what. And so now it's even more challenging because, you're like, wait a minute, I picked you and you're supposed to be my healthy savior. Prince Charming carries you over the threshold and you live happily ever after. What are you doing having something on a scan?
Right. Yes, that is so funny, because I've always thought of that, like, my Prince Charming will come along. And it was Chris. And then, yeah, that's cool to see.
Well, you're writing the adult version of the fairy tale, which includes your husband is a full human being, as are you.
And see, here's the other thing, sweetheart. This moment is perfect, exactly as it is. That includes you. The way you are in this moment is perfect. It includes Chris, exactly the way he is in this moment. It's perfect. If you have that perspective, life is perfect. If you think it ought to be different, no matter how it shows up, it's never good enough.
Well, everything is fodder or fuel for the complaint machine we have in our minds. All those years we said, we're never getting a pet because we travel so much. And now, a couple of years ago, COVID, we're like, are we going to get an animal? Let's get an animal. So we have this cat. We love our cat. We write Kitten Chronicles about our cat. Her name is Baby, which is pretty funny. So we ultimately do have a baby. And now we're going out into the world. And it's expensive to have cat sitters come over here when we're away in Costa Rica, or we're on a trip, or, if we're going to go away for a couple of days. And so we could complain about that. Anything is an excuse to complain, or go, aha, we chose this. We're choosing this. This is my life.
That's so fun. I love that idea of, yes, I chose this.
Yes. And you even use the right word. Yes.
Yeah.
You can either be a yes to how your life is showing up, or it's a complaint. One is satisfying. The other is painfully painful, where nothing is ever good enough. Nobody can do it well enough for you. And misery is your end result. One is ecstasy, one is misery. Choose. Well, it gives up being right that this isn't it.
I think, I fell for Shia really early, like, when we started being together. And it's like I actively chose somebody, even while I was still thinking I wanted a kid. It was in my plans. I chose someone to not have one with.
Because I had a vasectomy
Before we got together.
Many years before we got together.
Right.
1 year we got together at Christmas with his ex-wife and her husband, and we were doing a blended family thing, supporting the kids because Shia had 2 kids. And she said, I have a confession to make, Ariel. I asked Shia to get a vasectomy when I knew I no longer wanted to be with him. I just wanted to make sure he couldn't have kids with anybody else. And you know what I said? Thank you. I appreciate that. It's perfect.
That's great. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah,
Hey,
I love it.
Katie,
This is it.
Katie, darling, you're a beauty.
It's fun to see. I know people can't see you, but you got color back in your face. You can be hard on yourself, or you can get out there and live your life.
Thank you.
And
Don't be afraid of going out.
Thank you.
one last thing before we go, I really appreciate how just unvarnished honest you are about your life, that you're not like hiding things and trying to look a certain way, that you just share with everybody. That is so incredibly generous, and what a gift for people. It just gives me goosebumps.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Whew. If you want to be a guest, you can be yourself. Don't try to be Katie or Renat or anybody else. You're welcome to join us here. Just go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. It's interesting that we always talk about next week's episode. And when I conceived of this particular theme, I did because
Next week's thing.
next week's theme, I had a picture that I fell in love with, and I wanted to do an episode so I could use that picture. But now, as we're talking today, I realized how incredibly powerful the theme of
Fairy tales?
fairy tales. We have been told so many fairy tales.
Oh, yeah, man.
Oof.
Hey, Santa's coming in just a little while.
Or the Easter Bunny, or. We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And ready for this?
Don't miss
Being
being here.